I'm gonna mute myself.
And hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me. And I'm going to give people a moment or two to get their notifications in the Facebook Live feed. I have no idea what to expect from this. This is our first, I'll call it episode or noontime live, Facebook Live broadcast. We kind of came up with an idea that what we wanted to do was do this on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays at noon Eastern, from 12 noon until 12:30. So we knew that we wanted to do that because there's, always there's people who want to ask me about digital marketing and digital advertising, and I thought, what a great way to do that, but to just do it on Facebook Live. So anyone who opted on, if they had a question, something that they didn't know the answer to, that they were trying to figure out on their own, they could just ask us. So what a great way to reach people. So that's kind of what we're looking at doing today. This has kind of been inspired, and hello, Patty Mountain. Thanks for joining us. And so yesterday Patty and I went to junior high, was it, Patty? We went to junior high together, and I think maybe even earlier years than that. But it's always fun to see people, from way back in the day. So, yes, so yesterday I did a webinar which was called Facebook Live, how to use Facebook Live for your business. And we got a lot of great questions and talked a lot about cameras and so on and so forth. And, there's just a lot of different ways that you can do Facebook Live. It's really just one of the many things that's happening with Facebook right now. We're doing quite a bit in my own business, which is called Web for Retail, retail.com. You can visit us on, of course, visit our website, webforretail.com. And so we're talking a lot about that and how to use Facebook ads. That's really kind of, we've been using Facebook ads for a while, but as any business knows, there are a variety of different ways that you can use Facebook ads, and Facebook has gotten a lot more sophisticated. For me, and what I suggest to our clients is, I really love Facebook ads. I think they're inexpensive. You can Geo-Target. Facebook now has this live option, which I'm a true believer in. I just really like that whole interface, the Facebook interface. It used to be a lot more difficult, really, than it is now. It was kind of clunky, and now they have, the interface is a lot smoother. So, and just built out a lot better. And there's Ads Manager, which is kind of a more sophisticated way to take care of, managing all of your variety of ads. And I have to say right now, I'm in my apartment right now, and I have my little kitty here, and he's moving my tripod around. So if you see my tripod jiggle, he's like trying to rub his face on the side of my tripod. I might have to get up and put him in another room if he keeps it up. So somebody is asking, what is the difference between Facebook Live and Facebook ads? So Facebook Live is what I'm doing right now. And as I explained in the webinar yesterday, you could do this from your own storefront if you wanted to. And I explained in depth the way in which you could do that. You can just turn, like I've done, you can just turn the phone on yourself, and there goes my kitty. You can just turn the phone on yourself and start broadcasting right in your own store. And of course you want to use lighting and so on and so forth. I really love the immediacy of Facebook Live. There's really nothing like broadcasting live in terms of getting people's attention and getting them to listen to you. And if you're enthusiastic about what you're doing, people will give you that enthusiasm back. So just imagine the example that we used yesterday was Black Friday. Say, for example, that you are having a big sale, a big Black Friday sale, and hopefully the store is going to be pretty busy. If you are the owner of the store, you can grab a happy customer. What is a better selling point than to talk to somebody who's happy about what they've purchased? I can tell you from my years in marketing, one of the best ways to sell something is to interview someone who has already purchased an item. So say I'm in your store and I have bought the Electrolux dryer, and I just am going on and on and on how much I love this dryer and how happy I am and what a great deal I got. This is the best thing. People watching that are also going to want to purchase it. It's just human nature. It is that sort of firsthand word of mouth, in a sense, from somebody who has really literally purchased something. So that is a way in which you could use Facebook Live. And it's also, you know, just a really great way for people to get the immediacy. They see your store, they'll see you, so on and so forth. So that's live. It's literally live, like what I'm doing now. We also use a lot of Facebook ads. Facebook ads is different. It's a little complex, but not terribly. The most obvious Facebook ad that you can purchase is what's called a boost ad. So I know as a business owner, you've seen this, but you can post something on your, let's say for the sake of argument, you have you know, a Thermador stove, cooktop, awesome by the way, and it's on sale for the holidays, and you post that picture of that on your Facebook timeline. You will see down in the bottom right hand side, you can see that it will say boost this ad. This is sort of the stripped down version of some of the more complex ways that you can use Facebook to run ads, but let's just stick with the boost ad example. So you push the boost ad, that button, and if you've tried this, I'm betting you probably have, you'll see it will give you options. Number one, how much do you want to spend? How long do you want the ad campaign to run? And more critically is to geo-target it. So say for the sake of argument, I'm in the Boston area and I want to say, I don't want to advertise in California or down in Florida. I geo-target. I will type in Boston and it will automatically pull up, okay, the Boston DMA. And that's how you are geo-targeting. Not so much different than what we do with traditional media either, only the reps that you're used to dealing with, they geo-target it kind of for you, and it is done, you know, almost implied, because I'm in the Boston area, that broadcasting signal, if you will, from a TV station is in the Boston DMA. Facebook is much different. If you decided for whatever reason that you're in Boston and you wanted to geo-target your ad and you wanted it to be in California for whatever reasons, you would be able to do that as well. There's a lot of flexibility in doing Facebook ads. There's a lot of flexibility in doing any kind of digital advertising. So that's one of the real basics of a boost ad. The only thing boost ads tend to be a little limited. They're not especially, you don't get a whole lot for them. You might see that people have responded to your ad, but you really don't get a lot from them. And just so you know, when you buy a boost ad, really what it's doing is it's feeding your ad into the feed of people that you have geo-targeted. And Facebook has what they call algorithms, so they time it, release your ad to go into the feeds of people in your DMA or where you've geo-targeted. And that's really what's happening, is it's being released into the feed. So most or much of what is being viewed in terms of your ads is really being done on your handheld. Okay, I have a second iPhone now. I finally buckled under and got a second iPhone. So really what you're seeing is it's coming in your Facebook feed on your phone. Now, we happen to be doing this on our desktop and so on and so forth, but I want to show you, because a lot of people they're like, I don't really know, what do you mean my feed? So I want to show you on this phone exactly what it means. So you have your Facebook app, and you just call it up here, and then in your feed on your timeline, that's where the ads go into people's profiles. So that's the difference between ads, Facebook ads, and going live. Now, this is what I talked about yesterday. At this point, you can't geo-target a live shot like what I'm doing right now. The only people who see this, who are given a notification, are the people that like my page. I'm broadcasting off my Facebook page. So at this point, only those people got the notification. Anyone can hop on and watch this, but they weren't notified. And that's how you know that I'm broadcasting live, is because if you follow my page, you'll get a notification. Imagine, and I know this is in the future, what if when I did my live shots on Facebook, I had the option to boost it? Think about it. I could geo-target it and say, okay, for X amount of dollars, $250 or $500, I want to broadcast live to the entire Boston DMA. That's awesome. That's basically then, you're basically a TV station, because that's exactly what TV stations do. They have a signal radius, right? So when you run an ad on your morning news program with the morning anchors, and say it's Denise's Appliances, that's really what you're getting. You're broadcasting into that DMA, and that's their signal. That's where their signal comes from their TV station. So if you can think of Facebook as being the exact same thing. Facebook really isn't at this point just a social network. And if you were to see it from my perspective, having been a television news anchor for years, I really see it as a broadcasting tool. I see it as kind of like I'm broadcasting again, and that's exactly what you're doing. You're broadcasting again. So those are basically the differences between a Facebook ad and then also going live. From my perspective, again, I think Facebook Live and to some extent Periscope on Twitter are really going to change everything. I think cable TV is really going to get sort of overtaken or consumed by all of these different broadcasting options that we have. And ultimately, I think there's going to be a marriage of TV stations and what's happening online. My prediction, in 5 years, we're going to be consuming so much of our content. The things that we watch that entertain us are all going to be coming through either Facebook, Twitter, or some other platform, maybe a platform we haven't even seen yet. And I give you an example of this, which is right now you can watch, I think it is Thursday Night Football on Twitter. So you're on your Twitter page, and then over on the side you can see the football game playing live in perfect HD quality. What's really fun about that is that you can, while you're watching the game, you can see your Twitter feed. So let's say, for the sake of argument, I'm watching the Patriots, and in the Twitter feed it's hashtag New England Patriots or hashtag Patriots. I can see in that funnel what everyone is saying about the game. It's almost like everybody gets to do color commentary. And so what's really fun about that is you can watch the game and still talk to all of these other people that are on Twitter, and they're tweeting about the game. It adds a depth, another dimension to how we consume our entertainment and the video and the media. So yes, so from JL Machining Works LLC, it says, hi Denise, I have a self-startup company. I want to drive more traffic to my website and gain more likes. What kind of ad would you recommend? So if you go into the ads manager, what you will find is there are now, and maybe Tommy or Michael who are here assisting me today, I think there are 6 different ads. There is one particularly set up so that you get Facebook likes, and that's what I would go with first. Now you can get Facebook likes, you can get them a variety of ways, but that is the most straightforward way to do that. So let me say this though, when you're putting your ads together for Facebook in this way, there's something called the 80-20 rule. Now, you know you're going to have to design your ad, right? So you cannot have any more than 20% copy or words, if you will, on your ad graphic. The reason that Facebook does this is because they don't want your feed to get too spammy. So keep that in mind, because trust me when I say this, and we still run into this and do this sometimes. You don't want to create a really great ad that might say, Black Friday sale, everything's 25% off. You've worked on it, you like it, and then you try to upload it and it gets rejected because it didn't make the 80-20 rule. So, the thing about Facebook, and my only caveat to that is this. We at Web for Retail work in Facebook all the time, all day, every day, and it changes all the time. So don't be frustrated if you go into your into Facebook and your interface and start trying to build out ads and go, wow, this looks a little bit different than it did yesterday. It's not you. It really quite possibly could look a lot different than it did yesterday. And that happens almost every day. So that's the best way to get likes. I want to say this. I'm going to say maybe 5 or 6 years ago, we would get like 10,000 likes for our clients, and we would run all kinds of contests and so on and so forth. And this was before they had their ad platform. So you would have 10,000 people that liked your page. You'd post something and maybe 20% of them might actually see that. Well, as soon as Facebook started charging for ads, okay, that organic views that you received decreased and decreased and decreased. Facebook did this so that you would buy ads because, of course, by then they were a public company. So in a sense, we went from, oh wow, likes really meant everything. That was about 5 or 6 years ago. 2 or 3 years ago, it really didn't matter because you were having to buy yourself to get into the feeds, to now having the likes are actually important again. Having the likes to your page, and I'll tell you why. Because if you're going to be broadcasting live, the people that like your page are going to get your notification. It is important that you have likes, and that is the reason that you have likes. It isn't going to mean that you don't need to buy ads, because you do. It is still very much limited in terms of when you're posting your hard-earned content or things that you've worked on very hard, the content, you still want people to view it, to see it. In order to really make that happen, you really still have to have a Facebook budget. And I know business owners cringe at this. They're like, oh my gosh, money for Facebook. But yes, money for Facebook. And for the demographic that we're talking about, especially when we did the webinar yesterday, for appliance, bedding, furniture, the demographic of the buyers is women 25-54, and the demographic of website is women 25-54. So let's see. And he says, sorry to ask so many questions. Don't even worry about it. This is our first broadcast, so I'm just glad that you're here with me. What is a decent budget to start off with, Denise? I'm just looking for likes. A decent budget. I don't know what DMA you're in, which means I'm not really sure what market you're in. I'm not sure what town you're in. I'm going to tell you this, just as a very quick rule of thumb. When you're buying likes, and I don't mean like buying them from overseas or anything like that, but actually buying them in this way through advertising, in our business verticals that we're talking about, they're anywhere between 50 cents a like and $2 a like. Now, sometimes they can go even higher, but that's a general rule of thumb. So I tell people, if you spend $100, you'll get 100 really great geo-targeted, right? Because you're geo-targeting this. They'll be in your trade area. You'll get 100 likes, about 100 likes. Now, let me say this. So you're sitting there saying to yourself, wow, if I want 1,000 likes, I have to spend $1,000? Kind of. But what happens is once you start getting more likes, you get some momentum. And I think you said that you were a part of a startup. So you get momentum. So the more likes that you have, the better content you have, the more people that view, and it just kind of starts to roll. So, yes, so I just wanted you to know that there is a kind of momentum that builds with this. So you say you're on the West Coast, Idaho. So let me say this, I was a news anchor in Spokane, KREM TV, KREM, and then I went on to King in Seattle. So I'm sure you probably are familiar with both those TV stations. Idaho is a lovely country. When I was out there, I hiked a lot, just really, really enjoyed the climate and stuff. So just as a rule of thumb, that's kind of the rule of thumb of likes. Now, we here at Web for Retail have we do a variety of different things in terms of collecting likes. Like we'll run a contest or even a sweepstakes. We're running one right now for a client, and I think it's a $1,000 giveaway. And in order for people to enter, to win that $1,000, they have to fill out a form, they have to like the page. Well, they don't have to, we encourage them to like the page. And then they also have to leave their email address. So the way we do it is, when you're spending money on that, is you're also getting an email address, so you're collecting those emails. So let me kind of go off the topic of Facebook just for a moment. Emails are huge, and I'll tell you why this is. When you have an email list, it is yours. No one can take it from you. It's yours. One thing I want you to remember is when you're getting your profiles on Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, you don't own that. Facebook owns it. Twitter owns it. So remember, the things that you actually, and I'm not saying don't worry about that. I wouldn't let that affect you. You need to be broadcasting on them and also buying ads and such. But what you own will be your email list. What you own will be your blog. So just try to remember that. And also what you own, it will be your content. Now remember, I could kind of go on and on and on about content, and we talk a lot about that here at Web for Retail as well. 4 or 5 years ago, how we would post and smartly post in some of the third-party applications to make posting on social media a lot faster. Those are very commonplace now. If you don't use Hootsuite, you probably use something else. And now really what it's all about is content creation. So that's really the game that you're in now. It's pretty easy to get loaded up on Hootsuite or whatever it is so that you're blasting out to all of your different social media at one time. But the time-consuming thing, the thing that really takes thought, is the content. You need to have a content calendar. And you need to understand that this is a sad truth, but it's a little bit like shoveling coal in a furnace. The internet burns content. It loves it. We consume it so fast on the internet. Now, the good part of that is that it also lives out there. And hopefully it will backtrack to your website, and you have some thought behind, getting back a return back on all of the content that you're providing. So you're going to say to me, Denise, what are you talking about content? Very basically, what we do is a third and a third and a third. So you're going to need a third of your own content, a third of manufacturer's content. So say for the sake of argument, you have Thermador on your floor, you can get content from them. And then the other one, what is it? A third of your own, a third of that, and then of course a third of what we call other people's content, OPC. So that sort of takes the burden off you from having to create all this content all the time. I will tell you hands down, emphatically, those are the two things that I see in social media, which is being able to broadcast live like I am, and knowing and accepting the fact that you're in the content creation game. So the question is, I have other social networks as well. Is Facebook the only place I can run ads? I have Twitter and Instagram following as well. So no, absolutely not. Instagram, Facebook owns Instagram. So when you get into that Facebook interface to build out your ads, there'll be an option to also post on Instagram, and I would suggest that you do that. I love Instagram. Tommy, who works for us, has really sort of schooled me on Instagram and really how powerful it is. I love it. It's very image oriented, so just be kind of prepared for that. So yes, you can buy ads on Instagram. Because Facebook owns Instagram, it will show up in that Facebook interface. It will ask you, do you want to run Instagram ads? And that's the way you do that. Twitter has its own ad format. It runs a little bit differently than Facebook, but basically they're all the same. This is what I would say about running ads though. You have to be cognizant that each one of these social platforms has its own flavor. It has its own personality. So how-tos and blog links and such play really well on Twitter, and we're finding this out even today. We're going through this process ourselves. And you only have 140 characters, so keep it short and sweet. Facebook, on the other hand, is very different. You're not limited to characters. Things that are a little more personal play well on Facebook. And then on Instagram, Tommy will laugh at this, quotes and photographs play really well. So when you have a campaign, and I'll use Black Friday as an example, sit down and think to yourself, okay, I'm going to need different pieces of content for Black Friday. And I know that my campaign is going to be, I'm going to have a big appliance sale. How am I going to create different content? And of course you want to run up to Black Friday a couple of days, and then you want you want to have it tail out a couple days after the fact. You want to get through that weekend and the whole 9 yards. So you're going to want to plan this out ahead of time. So is the same budget per day for all networks if you're connected? For example, if you have a $10 a day budget for 2 weeks, will that carry over to Instagram as well? No, you have to put separate money towards Instagram. So, and this is how I would play that. If you're going to do 10 a day towards Facebook, I would do at least 5 a day towards Instagram. You'll get a pretty good feel for which one performs better for you, but that's how I would start with that. So 10 a day, if that's what you're looking at, and then 5 a day. So, but the budgets are different, and Facebook will ask you, it will force you actually to enter in that you have different budgets. I haven't talked about Pinterest yet, but I guess I can talk about Pinterest tomorrow. There's one question that came in, and wow, this half hour goes by fast, doesn't it? Let me see. So we've got your presentation. Oh my gosh. So this is someone here. I'm just reading some emails that are coming in. I didn't quite expect this. So Peter says, your presentation package was super yesterday. I watched episodes of Treasure Hunt, never knowing who was behind it. That was a television show that I produced and such. That does my heart good. He says, thank you for yesterday. You answered one of my questions. Why should I use Facebook Live? And he says, now I know. So one more question. Oh boy, now I have the dreaded conversation with the boss. Yes, about increased budget, but he wants results. I can't thank you enough. And you know what? Honestly, this was the first of these hashtag Ask Denise's. So thank you so much for coming and asking questions. And it just, gives me confidence that we'll be able to do this more in the future. So I think I can probably say we're going to wrap this up for now. We will have my webinar Friday morning. We're going to have the recorded version of that up on my Facebook page, and you might want to watch that and take a listen. So thank you so much. This was the first broadcast of hashtag Ask Denise, and I will see you all tomorrow.